Hello YouTube, Jerry Kirkpatrick here, and this is not the introduction to this video that I had planned on. After reading the comments in the last video, there were several excellent additions that people mentioned that I should make to my bead blaster, and two of them were good enough that I thought, if I don't make these modifications now, once I get this thing back where it's going to be living for the rest of the time, I won't be getting to them. So the first one was putting an LED light in the fixture, and I looked in both of the hardware stores we have here in Willits. Neither one of them had anything that would be brighter than what I have here, so I'm going to have to do some searching on the internet, find something that puts out more light than what I have. That's fine. The second thing was to paint the inside of the cabinet white. What a great idea. It is going to bounce back the light from everywhere in the cabinet. It was mentioned by one person that why do it because you're going to just sandblast the paint off anyway. Well, it only occurs in the lower left-hand corner of the cabinet. Everything else would be still white, and the part or the paint that would be removed by the sandblasting, it's a bright color also. So anyhow, I stayed last night and masked off the front and painted the inside of the cabinet white, as you can see, so it would be dry this morning so I can get on with the next project in the series. And that project is replacing the plastic, putting the glass in the plastic lid to the bead blaster. So let's get on to that. So before I start tearing the lid apart, I figured I would put the vacuum together. I've got all the parts, I think, but I want to completely assemble it and make sure that I have everything that will put it together when I'm ready to assemble it on the bead blaster. So let's see how that goes. It's a good thing I checked that out. I had to go to the hardware store and get the adapter from the hose to the topper, and I found that they didn't have an adapter that was the same size, so I just used a no hub to join those two together. So I'm glad I did that. Now I have the vacuum and the 5-gallon can with the topper over in the corner. It's now ready to be installed. So with that, I've taken off the shield on the inside. I've removed the rivets and taken the latches off of both sides that would be in the front of the cabinet. I've taken off the chain, the restraint, so the lid doesn't fall all the way back. And I removed the light that hopefully I'll be able to find a LED to take the place of the fluorescent that goes in here. And I also glued the portion of the rubber that had become unglued. So I cleaned it all off and re-glued it. And here you can see how that went. So now I've got everything taken off of the door that needs to be removed. And next, I'm going to drill 4 holes, 1 inch in diameter in each corner, actually a hole saw. I'm going to leave a margin about 1 inch all the way around that will support the glass when I put it in there. So let's get this thing marked out so I know where the framework is going to fit. Then we'll drill the hole. I'll drill a 1/4 inch hole, then the 1 inch hole saw, and then I'll cut all the rest of the inside out, and then we'll be ready to fit the glass and make something to hold the glass down into the frame. So after I got the holes, the 1-inch holes, finished in each of the corners, it was time to take my saber saw and cut out between each of the holes, and then I used a Vixen file to go all around all of the straight edges. I used a half round Vixen file to massage each of the corners so everything blended in nicely. And then I used a piece of a broken cold saw for doing all of the deburring and making nice rounded edges all the way around the frame, so there's no sharp edges anywhere, both in the radiuses and in the straights on both sides. And if you know somebody that has a cold saw and they have a broken blade, get yourself one of the shards, and this is probably the best deburring tool for plastic and aluminum. So now that I've got the inside cut out, and got the whole frame painted, I've laid down a strip of self-adhering foam, and this is vinyl foam weather stripping, weather sealant, and it is 3/8 by 1/4, and this is where the glass is going to be seated in the frame. So let me get the glass put in place, and I'll show you the little brackets that I made to hold the glass in place. And luckily there were places in all 4 corners that were already drilled out for pop rivets, and I just tapped each of these holes for a 8/32, and that's what we'll be holding the glass down with. So, and now I have the glass in place, and it has about a 1/8 inch to maybe 3/16 margin all the way around, but it's sitting on that nice soft foam. And I made some brackets that will go in each corner, and I have glued on the inside of each of them an excess amount of rubber that is probably twice the amount of distance between the glass and the frame. So it's going to create quite a bit of downforce on the glass in each corner. And for this, I just used some 3/4 by 7/16 self-adhering foam, rubber foam weather sealer. So that is what I'm using to hold each of these brackets down, and they just fit in here like this. we have the glass installed in the frame. So the next thing to do is install the fluorescent light, and the original position where these two holes were 8 inches down from the top here, and I've found where the margin is between the framework and the rubber, and that's right at about 2 inches on both sides, obviously. So I've got some brackets that will be screwed down to the plastic here and match up with the holes here. I was going to make some brackets that would screw it down out here, but I couldn't see what was inside on the ends here, so I elected to retain the original brackets, so I know these two pop rivets on either side are not interfering with anything. I know that this is a safe mounting place, so by making some brackets that will screw here and onto the bracket itself, I can get the light mounted without much trouble. So, and here we have the lid completed. Glass installed, the light installed. So that's it. This is the last piece of fabrication that I have to do before I start assembling the whole thing and putting the cabinet back in use. But there is one other thing that I'd like to show you that will help you with your gloves not sliding off of the openings. So let's go over to the cabinet itself and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you have one of these cheap cabinets and they have these very smooth openings for the gloves, and you put your clamp, your hose clamp around here, and the gloves are just constantly sliding off of this flange. So all I did was I took my crescent wrench, adjusted it so it was fairly tight on this rim, and only go in no more than 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/8 or 3/16, something like that. Just take your crescent wrench and bend it out just slightly. Doesn't take very much. You can just go around the opening, bend these out just slightly, and then your hose clamp will go behind where you've raised this outer portion, and you only need maybe 8 or 10 all the way around. Once you slide your glove over there and you put your hose clamp on there, tighten it down, and your gloves will not come off anymore. So that's it. With the lid finished, that is the last modification, new modification that I wanted to do for the Bead Blaster before I got it put back in the corner. I think this is where I'm going to leave it here. I've got all of the assembly to do, getting the door back on, the vacuum, the gloves, the gun, foot control, all of that. Plus, I want to get the vacuum positioned. I think the vacuum will go in the corner and the topper, the 5-gallon can, will go just beside the cabinet so it's easy to empty. I've got to make the hose that will go from the dryer to the foot pedal, and then hook up from the foot pedal up to the cabinet, re-hook the hopper to the cabinet, just all of that stuff. And I'm also going to put a plastic, what I used to look through when I had the plastic. I'm going to put one plastic piece here, so it will be removable when it gets sandblasted and the light starts to become dull. I'll be able to pull that off, a tear off, and replace it. Keep the light brighter in the cabinet. And then I'm also going to continue using the shield down below. So there will be a sandblasted area, maybe here, maybe up in the top, but none of the places that I look through, nor where the light comes into and fills the cabinet. So thank you very much for watching. Give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe, buy me a coffee. I'll see you in the next one.